My name is Emma. I was born in a small cabin in the mountains of Montana. On the edge of a mountain that didn't exist on any map. We didn't have internet. We didn't have a TV. We didn't even have birth certificates. People didn't come up there. They didn't know the way. And if they knew, they were told not to go. My father called it God's land. My mother called it home. I called it silent. We were 7 children in my family. I was the 5th child. My parents didn't send us to any classroom. They said schools were lies. My father didn't trust schools. He said the government used schools to take children away from God. So we learned at home? Or at least we were supposed to. We didn't go to school. I grew up without formal education. Books were hard to find. I helped my mom almost every day. We put peaches in jars. I mixed herbs for the oils she sold. My father spent his time building barns. He saved fuel like gas and oil. He got ready for a big bad day. He said a bad time was coming soon. We had to be ready to live without help from the government. No stores, no hospitals. We didn't go to the doctor. My dad believed hospitals were dangerous. When I was 7, I burned my leg in the junkyard. But we didn't go to the hospital. We didn't go anywhere. We stayed at home. My mom put a plant cream on my leg and said prayers. The pain was very strong. It felt like I saw stars. My parents believed the world outside was full of danger. My dad thought people in the world would harm us. So I never went to school. I never saw a doctor. I learned to fear the world before I even knew it. I used to believe my father could see things that others could not see. He looked at the sky quietly and seriously. It was like God was talking to him behind the clouds. When the wind blew strong in the trees, he said, "Listen, Emma. The Spirit is warning us." I listened. I always listened. He talked about the world ending a lot. I started to dream about it. At night, I saw fire falling. Fire fell from the sky. We ran to the cellar. We took jars of peaches and rifles with us. School was a sin, medicine was poison, and the government was the devil's hand. That is what we learned. My mother believed it. But sometimes, I saw doubt in her eyes. She helped women have babies. She knew a lot about plants for medicine. She could deliver a baby in a snowstorm. She only used a candle and her hands. She made oils from yarrow, comfrey, garlic, and lavender. And she prayed over every bottle. One time, my brother Isaac fell from the roof. His head got a big cut. Mom did not show fear. She put herbs on his head. Then she wrapped it with cloth. He yelled loudly, but she quietly said, "God is with us." That day, I looked at her carefully. Her hands were still, but her mouth shook. I started to think if she was scared. And if she was scared, why didn't she say it? There was a small shelf in the corner of the living room. It was old, dusty, and no one used it much. It was my mother's. From a time before she married my father, he never looked at it. That was where I found the book, Jane Eyre. The book was old. Its cover was broken, and the pages smelled like smoke and lavender oil. I opened the book very slowly. I felt like it could explode. I had never read a real story before. I only read the Bible and lessons my parents made about obeying. But this This was different. Jane was quiet like me. She didn't fit. She asked questions. She thought deeply. When I read that Jane left the only home she knew, my hands started to shake. Could I ever do the same? That night, I hid the book under my mattress. I read by flashlight after everyone was asleep. The words felt like a warm blanket, but they also scared me. I wanted to read more, so I looked for more books. I found an old dictionary. Then I found a book about stars. Then I found a book about American history. I learned new things that no one told me before. I learned that women marched to get their rights. I learned that people fought for freedom. I learned that truth can be bigger than just one person's words. One day, my father saw the book. He got very angry. He took the book from me. He did not speak at first. He just looked at the book. He held it in his hands and looked at the cover. He looked at it like it was something bad. He said, "Where did you get this?" I felt nervous. I wanted to lie, but I could not say anything. I said, "I found it on the old shelf." He looked at the book with disgust. Then he threw it on the table like it was very hot. He shouted, "Books like this don't teach truth. They teach pride, doubting God, rebellion." I was just trying to learn more words, I said. So I could read better. Better than what? He stopped me. Better than what I was allowed. Better than the life I teach you. But I didn't say anything. I just looked down at my shoes and was shaking. "You think you're better than us now," he said. "No," I whispered. "I just want to understand more." I went to town alone for the first time when I was 16. I told Mama I needed more yarrow root for her oil. That was partly true. But I really wanted to go into a bookstore. Not to buy. We didn't have money for that, just to see, to know if they were real. Mama didn't ask questions. She just looked at me, long and quiet. She said, "Take the green bag, and wear your scarf. It is cold outside. Don't stay too long. Your father will notice." I nodded. The town was 30 miles away. The road was rough. It went through pine trees, then to flat land. Nobody looked at me. Nobody knew I came from a mountain where books were forbidden and vaccines were evil. I walked past the pharmacy, the bank, and a bakery that smelled so good it made me hungry. Then I saw it. A small bookstore tucked between a laundromat and a coffee shop. I stepped inside. Books were all around me. I didn't know the names. I couldn't say them. After the town visit, I started to wake up earlier. Before the roosters. Before the boys. Before even the light. I lit a candle and opened the dictionary again. I copied words. Then sentences. Then whole pages. The barn became my secret school. Old newspapers. Broken encyclopedias. Anything I could find in the attic without raising suspicion. Mama noticed. She never said a word. But she started bringing me tea before dawn. She put it next to me, her fingers touched mine. Then she went away. That was her way of saying, "I see you. I won't stop you." I found a book about the sat in a thrift store in town. It cost $2. I had $1.75. The woman behind the counter looked at my old skirt and rough hands. She said, "That's good enough," and gave it to me with a small smile. That night, I studied until my candle died. One day, I'd left a notebook under my bed. It had formulas, essays, and the name of a college bozeman. When I came back from feeding the goats, found it on the kitchen table, open, exposed. My dad was standing by the sink, arms crossed. Nobody spoke. The silence was a scream. Then Dad asked, "You planning to run away?" I swallowed. No, I was just dreaming. He grabbed a notebook and shook it. "This is poison. This is pride. This is rebellion." "I'm not rebelling," I whispered. "I'm just learning." He threw the notebook into the fire. The flames took it fast. I didn't cry, but something broke inside me. And I think they all heard it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the floor of the pantry, knees to my chest. 2 weeks after the fire, I found a paper at the bottom of the flour bag. Mama had put it there. It said, "Sat testing Bozeman Public Library, March 14th. Nothing else. No name, no signature, just that. And that was enough. I used the money that Mama hid in the jam jar. $47. Enough for the test and the bus. Mama hid the money in the bottom edge of my coat. She kissed my forehead the night before, and said, "Come back. No matter what happens, you come back." The bus ride was long. 6 hours through snow and silence. I had never seen so many people reading newspapers and using phones. I held the paper like it was a ticket to a new world. When I walked into the library, my hands were shaking. There were lines of students. Desks everywhere. The clocks went tick-tick. And then a woman smiled at me and said, "You'll do fine, sweetheart." Nobody had ever called me that before. I don't remember most of the test. It was the first time. I felt like I belonged somewhere. I didn't have to hide. I was very nervous. The test finally ended, and I went home feeling hopeless. A few days later, when I came back from my daily work, I saw my mother. Her face was pale, and her eyes looked strange. Mama was waiting near the stove. She said, "A letter came. It is from the college." My heart beat fast. I said, "Who saw it?" She didn't answer. She handed me the letter. My name typed in black ink. Emma Rankin accepted. I didn't cry. Not yet. I looked at Mama. "Does he know?" She hesitated. "Your brother found it. I think he told your father." Just then, we heard boots on the porch. The steps were slow and heavy. My blood turned cold. Mama grabbed my hand. She whispered, "Go hide. Do not come out until morning." I didn't say no, because I knew how he acted when he was angry. I ran to the barn. I hid under the hay. And for the first time, I prayed not for light, but for safety. It was still night when Dad found me in the barn. Morning was many hours away. His face looked angry. His eyes were like dark clouds and thunder. He said angrily, "Do you think you can run away?" I did not say anything, because sometimes being quiet is louder than a scream. He held my arm. It was hard. I tried to move away. He said, "No, Emma. You must stay. This is your life." But I saw his eyes change. He looked scared and unsure. Mama came to the barn door, her hands shaking, voice steady. "Let her go, Harold." Dad turned to her, anger boiling over. "No, she's our daughter," Mama said, "but she is also her own person." For the first time, they argued openly. And, for the first time, I saw a door open. That night, with Mama's help, I packed a small bag, a few clothes, my books, the little money she had saved. She hugged me tight and said, "Go with courage, Emma." And so, I walked toward my future. Each step was heavy with fear, but also light with hope. I didn't look back. Because sometimes, being brave means leaving what you know and walking into something new. I didn't look back. The city was nothing like the mountains. Tall buildings went high into the sky, like giants. Cars honked. People rushed, and lights blinked endlessly. I stood at the bus stop and held my bag tightly. My heart was beating fast not only because I was scared, but also because I was excited. The streets smelled like fresh bread. Faraway music could be heard. The next morning, I walked to the community college, nervous and unsure. I stepped inside. A woman behind the desk smiled warmly. "Emma, right? We were waiting for you." She handed me a schedule. "Here are your classes. You'll do great." That day, I met other students, some older, some younger, all different. They asked where I was from. I said, "Montana." They smiled, and I smiled back. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could be just Emma. Not someone's daughter, not a secret, just me. That night, I wrote in a new notebook. Not formulas or essays, but a letter to myself. "Dear Emma, this is just the beginning. You are brave. You are free. You are enough." I closed the notebook and smiled. Because for the first time, I believed it. The mornings were cold. But every day, I woke up with a small fire inside me. The city was a puzzle I was still trying to solve. Every face I saw had a different story. Some looked full of hope. Some looked sad. Some looked strong. At college I met Lisa. She was loud and fearless, with a laugh that filled the room. She told me the first day, "Don't let them scare you." Her friendship was like a light. It helped me when I felt like I was falling. But freedom was not free. It had a cost. I got a job washing dishes in a diner, the hours long and the pay little. Homework was hard. The books used words I didn't really understand. I stayed up late, my head on the cold table. It was hard. But I didn't give up. One night, after a long shift, I found a letter in my mailbox. It was from Mama. She wrote, "Every step you take, I'm with you even if miles apart." Tears made the words hard to see. But the words gave me strength. Days passed quickly and became weeks. Sometimes I wanted to give up. When the cold was too strong. When I felt very alone. When fear told me to go back. But I remembered Mama's words. And Lisa's laughter. And the promise I made to myself in that quiet Montana barn. The road in front of me was still long. But for the first time, I was not walking alone. That changed everything. But slowly, I found friends. Some teachers believed in me. Some classmates helped me without judging me. Their kindness helped me keep going. "Emma, you're improving," Mrs. Collins said kindly one day. Their encouragement was like water to a thirsty plant. I started to believe I could do this. But school was not only about grades. It was also about learning to speak, to ask for help, to share my thoughts. Slowly, I got better. My essays became easier to understand. My ideas got stronger. I learned to ask for help. I learned to listen to advice. I started to write my own story. I wrote in journals and essays. At night I thought a lot. I found my own voice. Emma was no longer the girl who left the mountains in fear. She was a woman claiming her place in the world. One graduation day, standing in a sea of faces, I saw my parents. They looked tired, unsure, but proud in their own way. I understood that success is not to make others happy. It is to become who I should be. I got a job at a small publishing house. I edited books and dreamed quietly. Every time I sent my own writing and got a no, it hurt a lot. In quiet times, I felt lonely. I remembered my childhood in the mountains, the hard lessons, and the hard love. These memories stayed with me, but they also made me strong. Slowly, I started to feel better. Talking to a therapist helped me understand my old pain. I learned that being strong is not only staying alive, it also means forgiving my family, my past, and myself. Love came to me when I didn't expect it. His name was Michael. He was kind and saw who I really was, not just my fears. I remember walking into a small bookstore. Rain was falling from my coat. I was tired, but I wanted a quiet moment with the books. The cold rain surprised me. But then he smiled warmly and gave me his jacket. Now, every day with him feels bright and full of hope. Even when my past tries to bring back the darkness. From the first time we talked, I saw a quiet sadness in Michael's eyes. He smiled a lot, but behind his smile was a silence full of pain. It took time before he talked about his past. We were sitting on a bench in the park. Leaves were moving around us. He spoke quietly. "Emma, I was married before. I have a son. His name is Noah. He is 7 years old." My heart didn't hurt because he had a wife before. It hurt because I heard the pain it caused him. He told me that Alyssa, his ex-wife, had hurt him badly. She betrayed him with his best friend. He said one day, he came home early. He heard laughing. When he walked in, he saw them. They were together. Something inside him broke. He lost trust. He lost hope. He even lost a part of himself. He fell into depression, nightmares, sleepless nights. He stopped talking. Stopped living. In his saddest days, he asked a therapist for help. Tears came to my eyes. Not just because of his story, but because I saw a man who was hurt but honest, and still brave enough to love again. When I looked at him, I knew, I don't want perfect. I want real. Michael is real. At that time, sitting beside him on that park bench, I made a promise to myself. I will not be her. I won't be another scar. I will be his shelter. I will love him in ways he's never known. I knew I couldn't erase his past. I couldn't undo the betrayal. But I could give him a future that is kind and honest. A future that makes the past hurt less. I got my PhD. I stood on stage wearing a black robe with a velvet hood, and a gold tassel. I smiled through tears, not because of the title, but because of the journey from a girl who had never set foot in a school, to a woman who had read Shakespeare, studied philosophy, and rewritten her own future. I loved Michael. I still love him. He held my hand on the hardest nights. But he could not carry my past. That was my job. People say, family is everything. They say blood is stronger than truth. But for me, I became myself when I chose truth, even if it meant leaving the people I loved the most. I left the mountain, not just with my body, but with my whole self. I left the silence. I left the shame. I left the fear. I didn't leave because I hated my family. I left because I finally loved myself enough to walk away. My father never forgave me. He believed I had turned my back on God, on him, and broken our family rules. My mother said nothing. She was stuck between her love for me and her loyalty to him. Now, years later, I live far from the mountain. I teach, I write, I breathe. I haven't spoken to my father in years. He still sends me letters sometimes. They are full of Bible verses and warnings. I don't write back, but I keep the letters in a box. Not because I feel guilty, because I want to remember, because that life was hard and strange. It gave me pain, yes, but it also gave me strength. This was my story, how I found education, and my voice. This is not a happy ending. It is not a sad ending either. It is just the truth. And that is enough. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. Your support means a lot.